Hey everybody, it's Matt Demers here from theScore eSports. I'm here with EG's captain, Peter Degger. They just defeated LGD 2-0 in one of the many 2-0s that we've seen here at the Summit 3. We're on day 4, so we're kind of like winding down to the little bit of the end of the tournament. Peter, how did that game go for you? I guess obviously there was a bit of an advantage going into that last game with the Juggernaut being so huge. At one point, being literally double the net worth of the next person down. It was kind of like tiny and I believe the Magnus were kind of like trading places there, but obviously you guys had a really big advantage. I guess run me through that a little bit. How did it kind of feel from your end?
Well, the Magnus Juggernaut is something we did a lot at the Dota Asia Championships, which was a tournament a couple of months ago that we had. We won, so we had a ton of success there. It's kind of one of our go-to strategies against Tiny Wisp. We don't deal with Wisp too well. A lot of games we end up just banning it if the team's really proficient with it. But this time we were confident. We didn't think LGD's Wisp was unbeatable. So when they went for the Wisp Tiny, we decided to go back to one of our go-tos, and it worked out.
Between patches, obviously, we're seeing a little bit of the shift of the game between 6.83 and 6.84. How do you kind of judge whether those old strategies are still viable or not?
Well, any strategy is viable, and obviously the better team is going to win depending on how you play for the most part. Of course, strategy and drafting is really, really important. But for us, even though it was kind of an outdated strategy, we were comfortable with it. And when you're in a big tournament like this and in a lower bracket elimination match, you have to do what you're comfortable with, and you lose with your best stuff and you win with your best stuff. So we just wanted to, if we were going to go out, we wanted to go out, with strengths rather than drafting kind of uncomfortably, which is kind of where we're at in 6.84 right now.
Something that I talked with Fear and Sumail yesterday, and one of the things that we talked about was Clinks, and just, again, kind of going back to that comfort pick, or at least something that you guys felt confident on. I guess, would you like to speak a little bit about that kind of Clinks pick? Because we haven't really seen it. I think you guys are the only people that pick it this tournament.
I believe Burning played it once.
Oh, yes, definitely.
But they lost. But yeah, it's a hero Fear really likes. He plays it a lot, just in pubs. He thinks it's really strong, and I think he works really well in this patch as well. We didn't play him too much last patch, but once like we talked about earlier, Magnus, Juggernaut, the melee hard farming carries are kind of moving out of the meta, and you see these new heroes like Klinks and Leshrac and Lina, and Lina's not new, but these new heroes are floating in because Klinks can get really active even though he's kind of a agility carry.
Something that I talked a little bit, I think it was during that conversation with Fear, or maybe with someone else, that the reason Klinks is kind of seeing play, I guess against certain comps, is that, early game experience is really important, and especially if he can disrupt, people's farming jungle stacks, that kind of stuff, he might, get that, unseen snowball, so to speak, almost. So I guess, how important is kind of winning that early game in this patch? It seems to be really important.
Just by watching this tournament, you can almost tell that winning the laning phase, generally that team just wins the game. I think there's only been a couple comebacks, and most of the games, when the laning phase is over, the game generally ends pretty quickly. But Klinks, he's really strong in lane, and he also can move out of lane really early and help your other lanes, and he frees up a lane for maybe a support to catch up, which is really nice.
And I guess with the stealth, he kind of puts a little, there's always with that, long stealth here, Bounty Hunter, Klinks or something like that, it puts the enemy on edge because, they might be there, have to invest in other sentries, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, when you're playing Dota, you almost always have to assume the worst, and you got to be ready for every situation. That being said, sometimes you just got to take risks, and Dota is won and lost off those risks that you take. So Klinks really puts pressure on them. Just because he's invis, they have to buy sentries, dust, and just be ready for him at any minute.
Obviously, you guys started off the tournament with a 0-2 loss to Cloud9. I guess, can I just ask, how did you guys rebound from that?
We've never really done too well in upper brackets. We're more of a lower bracket team, and that's just because we were able to assess why we lost. And also, we haven't had too much practice internationally. We've been practicing a lot here at home in the U.S., but we don't have the best practice partners. So we haven't really seen a lot of these top teams play. A lot of guys went to Starladder and Red Bull tournament, and they got some experience there. But I think this tournament we've learned a lot already, and I'm hoping to learn some more in our next match.
As someone who is chiefly in charge of that kind of draft, how difficult is it to adjust from patch to patch when things may fall off, the other things kind of come back in? I guess I know it's part of your job, I guess, as a pro Dota player, but as someone who has to think up concepts, I guess, put these little puzzle pieces together, how do you kind of adjust?
Yeah, the conceptual Dota is pretty much everything. It's not really about what heroes you play, or it's more about what you do during the game and how you play the game, which is the tough part to kind of conceive, I guess. But for me, my teammates help me a lot. Fear is really up there and helps me out. And then Aoi and Universe are always bringing in new heroes that they like, and we just try and meld them into our strategies.
Is there ever a point where it's like, because you've got over 100 heroes to kind of play around with and kind of fit into different slots. Is there ever a point where you're just like, okay, excuse me, I need to like step away from this. My mind is just mush.
Definitely, it happens all the time, especially when we switch to like a brand new patch, because there's so many options, and I'm not really sure which hero is the best for this situation. And the drafting time is always ticking down, and you're like, oh god, I spent way too much reserve time on that ban, and it's pretty stressful. But that's what makes it difficult. If it was easy, everyone would do it, right?
Awesome, definitely, yes. That's actually a pretty good place to end off. Thank you guys so much for watching. Peter, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us. We're going to be doing interviews for the rest of the Summit 3. Why do I keep wanting to say it is day 4. I keep wanting to say it's the Summit 4. But we are going to be here if you guys are interested in more interviews, more in-depth analysis, and more live stats. You can check out theScore eSports.com and check out our app where you can get all of that in the palm of your hand. Thank you so much for watching. Have a good day.